Catching robbery suspects is not weird science. It doesn't involve waving a magic wand. We've arrested over 52 robbery suspects in the last 60 days, some for multiple offenses. This occurs because of, and almost solely because of, cooperation from the public, not just reporting crimes, but then also reporting suspicious people. So if they see something that's out of place, they call us, and we get information specifically about vehicles is very helpful. But also behavior of people that may seem out of the norm. We know that in these robberies, these places, these establishments are being cased, meaning that they're going, they're checking these places out before they commit the robberies. This hopefully looks suspicious enough to people in the community that they're paying attention and then calling the Oakland Police Department so we can come and assess and take some appropriate action. Without that, these people will not be caught. And as I mentioned, 52 people over the last 6 months have been apprehended almost solely because of that kind of response from the community. So we want to encourage that and make sure the community understands what a vital role they play. As the mayor mentioned, up to $50,000 reward money from Crime Stoppers for the arrest and conviction of these people. And make no mistake, we will catch them. Typically, robberies like this will occur until they are caught. And we will catch them as we have in the past, as I just mentioned. In addition to some of the things the Chief said, we also want to acknowledge the Department of Justice here in the state of California. One of the things we've done also is increase the investigative staff and our resources to focus on these robbery suspects. We've done that as well. One of the other things we're trying to do right now is coordinate with CETA and city staff to reach out to the restaurant owners and other business owners to make them understand the dynamics of a robbery and some of the things that they can do to their physical environment and what we recommend they do actually during a robbery. I think one of the most important things people can do right now is pay attention to their surroundings. If a robbery does occur, it is particularly helpful to get any kind of license information, vehicle information. At closing time, a lot of these robberies are occurring at closing time. Might be helpful for people who own restaurants and other commercial establishments who are fearful of being robbed to take a look outside. These people are most likely escaping in vehicles. Again, if they see anything suspicious, then call the Oakland Police Department. This is a very high priority for us, and they'll get a pretty quick response. So again, I think the most important thing to mention is we are catching robbery suspects in this community. It is only because of the cooperation with the public, and that is how we're going to catch these people as well.
The Oakland Police Department has more uniformed officers on the street than any time really in our history. And these officers are not deployed haphazardly, nor are they just all Oakland police officers. The officers are deployed strategically, both in an effort to do some level of prevention when it comes to these crimes and make people feel safer. That prevention extends to increased foot patrols and vehicle patrols of the areas that have been most affected by this. We are also cognizant of the fact that we may be displacing some of this crime, so we are going to move these resources around as we see necessary. On the apprehension side, we are actively engaged in trying to identify who the people are that are responsible. We are working very closely with our partners at the California Highway Patrol, who are deployed in some of the city's most crime-ridden areas, because we believe that frequently these people are coming out of certain parts of the city in their effort to perpetrate crimes in some of the more affluent retail business districts. So we're cognizant, we're fighting this war on both fronts. I like to say we're putting cops on the dots. And when we look at our maps and we strategically evaluate where our crime is occurring, what day of the week it's occurring on, what time of day, that's how we're deploying. We are remaining flexible in our effort to do this, and we have basically the full cooperation of all the men and women of the Oakland Police Department in this effort. I have no doubt that we are going to bring these people to justice, and people need to understand that robbery is a serious crime, and it carries some very serious penalties. And if convicted, they will spend a lot of time in prison. So we're out there. We're going to apprehend them. We ask that the community do its part to help us and be observant. That's super key in us being able to be successful here.
At this time, we'll open up for questions.
Do you think you have the same people pulling all these different robberies, or are there different teams?
Right now, we believe it's different groups of individuals that are committing these robberies.
Many, if not most, of these recent robberies in July and August were committed in Asian establishments, Asian restaurants. Is the police department or City Hall reaching out to the Asian merchant community in a special way, possibly a language, cultural barrier there, to help them help themselves in terms of preventing these robberies?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're working with really a security specialist and CETA, who's funding it, as well as staff here in the City and Oakland Police Department to not only contact victims of the robberies already, but also potential victims, people who own restaurants and other establishments, to help them understand the dynamics of a robbery, as I mentioned, how to make it less attractive to a suspect, and then what to do during and after a robbery.
These bilingual programs that you're talking about with the Asian community?
They are. The soonest we're looking at is the week of September 15th. We're calling it a workshop, and there'll probably be many depending on the response from the community.
Most of the steps that you brought up, the guardian angels, more cops on the streets, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I mean, is this working? Does something else need to be done? Or are you guys just really turning to the public now, like, we really need your help? Because obviously, like, it's still happening.
Well, 2 points. One, as I mentioned, 52 people in custody over the last 60 days. Second point, there have been no robberies where the guardians are patrolling, so in that respect, it's successful. The third point is, in that press conference, we asked for the public's help, and we've had almost zero. We really need to make it clear that these things are going to be resolved, especially these ones that are occurring today, by the public getting out and taking notice of what's going on.
Do you think that the citizens of Oakland really should feel better in having all these new officers on the ground? And also, if you have all these officers, why does it seem like right now there's more crime?
Let me say first that there are more than we've ever had in the past on the streets. Many of those are still in that training capacity. As the mayor said, we're going to be at 834 by the end of the year. I think that the public needs to know that the city and that the police department are working very diligently to staff up to meet the public safety needs or to meet the policing needs in the city. I think they ought to feel good about that. I think also that if you look at what crime is happening today compared to this time last year, we don't have a huge spike in crime. In point of fact, armed robberies are down 2% today over what they were this time last year. That's the armed robbery portion. We are seeing an increase in the number of takeover robberies, and I think that punches up everybody's anxieties. The question is the media part of this causing the anxiety? I think the more attention, that's kind of Hawthorne effect, people's anxieties are going to go up. Part of what we want to do today is say to the public or your viewers that we're here, and we're here in better numbers than we've ever been. We're very much involved in trying to solve this. We've got a huge amount of resources, both uniformed and investigative, involved in the solutions to these crimes.
What would you say to business owners who are thinking about arming themselves, and what consequences would they face if they'd got into a situation where they used that weapon?
Well, I think it's lawful for a person to have a firearm in their residence or their place of business. We discourage them from doing that. I think the best thing to do is to try to prevent first, put most of your efforts into the prevention. We would ask them to call us and have us come out and do an assessment of what their establishment is to make it more or less likely to be a target. And then if there is some interest in trying to arm themselves, then we want to tell them personally we're going to discourage that.